What is going on, guys? Of course, this is Gene Jensen, but it is time for some Friday Night Live. Well. How's everybody doing today? Goodness. Before you get things going, rocking and rolling, I'd like to welcome everybody that's listening on my podcast and watches those and listens to them as they drive or whatever you do when you listen to a podcast. These do end up on a podcast from time to time. Actually, every one of them are on the Fluke Master Fishing podcast. But anyway, welcome everybody. Elizabeth Z, welcome. Oh goodness, everybody's jumping on. Anthony, what's going on, brother? What's up? What's up? Applin's heart was on early, and I was messing with him, and I put him in timeout for 5 minutes. He's gonna kill me. Oh goodness, Lucky Charms, what's going on, bro? What is up? What is up? Hey everybody. McKenna Smith, country boy, what's going on? Mojo boy. Hey man. Oh, I'm wore out today, y'all. Flat wore out. I've been weeding and gardening and planting and tilling and all kinds of stuff today. I got my garden to where I don't have to touch it for the next 5 or 6 days. So, but it was a lot of busy work. My back hurts. I'm wore out. I'm feeling really old today. So, but what's going on, Jaron? What's up, Aaron? How you doing, man? Got a tourney in the morning. Going to be overcast and windy. At least it's not going to be storming. We're getting rain tomorrow. I'm still going to try to go out and go fishing. I like going fishing during bad weather because most people stay home and the lakes are pretty empty. So, but if it's lightning, I'll come back home. So, oh goodness, have you ever used a Z-Man Freedom chatterbait? I have. Never been a fan of that the freedom, the way they connect the hooks and stuff. Yeah, never have. Hunter Nixon, thanks for the $5, man. He says, I caught a bass on a jackhammer yesterday doing your secret drag and drop method. Good. Monday night, or Monday afternoon, Damon, they were fishing the Monday night tournament, and I don't fish it because I just don't. I fish 1 or 2 a year. But anyway, I wasn't fishing this one, but I was out fishing the lake. And Damon was fishing in it, and he was over I had pulled up on a point, and he came over, and I don't mind him fishing around me. It doesn't bother me at all, especially when he's fishing a tournament. But he had caught a couple of dinks, and I pulled up shallow, and he hates a chatterbait. I threw a chatterbait out, 4 or 5 turns, the drag and drop method, and I caught a 23.5-inch bass. Nice big 8.5 pounder. Oh, he was so mad at me. He'll be on later on tonight, but yeah, dude, he was not happy with me at all. But love that method, especially when there's no grass. You get a lake that's this bare bottom and stuff like that. It's hard to catch them on a chatterbait if you just throw casting and winding. So, goodness gracious. All right, we'll give it a little bit more time. What's going on, guys? Hey, Richard Ingram, what's going on, brother? Big Daddy Willerson, what's up, man? Let's see. Bryant. Okay, so you guys just jumped on. I was just talking about me gardening today and wearing myself out. He says, you are strong for getting out there and working your back, glutes, and hammies keep you young. Dude, I side dressed my corn, so I'm sprinkling fertilizer up and down the rows, and I have about 750 feet of total of corn. I got done. I had to sit down in the quad in the nice soft seat and just relax. It hurt so bad. My back was tensed up. Of course, I have an Army back, or should I say, I have a back compliments of the United States Army. When do you start throwing big worms, water temperature? We'll get into questions in just a second, SS Outdoors. All right, so real quick, I want to talk about a couple of things. Next month is the last month of the Knucklehead tournament. I've already got a commitment from Big Adventures for a kayak that I'm going to give away. Commitment is pending for 13 fishing rods and reels and stuff like that. And I'm not just going to give stuff away to the winners. I'm going to try to give stuff away to, top 3, top 5 guys, depending on how much sponsor stuff I can get in. But this is all going to happen in October, just before the championship. That way, everybody, all the other guys have a chance to get their tournaments done and everything else. I don't want to jump. I don't want to. I kind of want to do everything at the same time that everybody else does. It just kind of keep it even or keep it fair. So, but yeah, I'm pulling in a bunch of stuff for winners and runners up and stuff like that. So, but I'm hoping to get one more kayak commit. But I've got one so far. I may end up giving away one of mine that sits in my barn. So. Let's see. Big red bass. What's going on, bro? Yeah, that was a big fish. I did get the customary video. What I'm doing this year is every fish over 22 inches that I catch gets the royal treatment. I pull my phone out, put it up on the mount, get some nice, cool video and pictures of it, that kind of stuff. Matter of fact, the thumbnail for this video was one of those fish. I can't remember which one it was, but it was a 23 3/4, I think, or 23 and a half. I'm not going to look it up. Doesn't really matter. But what else is going on? My guide service is up and running. I've got two trips booked already. So what I'm doing is, if you go to Fishing Chaos, the Fishing Chaos app, and look in their charters section, find me, Fluke Master Fishing, and I'm guiding a lake right up the road called Heath Lake. It's a trophy managed lake, managed by the state. Open the 1st through the 10th of the month, and I'm kayak guiding. You can bring your own kayak, and soon I'll have an extra one for you guys to jump in that's going to be fully rigged. And so, but for right now, I'm having the guinea pig discount. So the first 10 to 15 guys that sign up, you're gonna get it for $300 a month, or a month, $300 for the trip. I'm such an idiot. But $300 for the trip, and after that, it's going to go up to either to $400 or $500. I haven't decided yet, but probably $400. But anyway, so that's an 8-hour trip. It's going to be all day. 8 hours is just the standard, and I don't always look at my clock, so we're going to have a whole lot of fun fishing. It's a great lake. You can catch lots of really good fish, big fish. I caught a 23 last month, 23 and a half last month. So definitely a lot of big fish, and I know that place like the back of my hand, so it's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, just go on Fishing Chaos to book that trip. It's real easy. That app is so nice for guys that are guiding, be able to manage our stuff and things like that. So, but those are the two things I've got to talk about. Let's go ahead and jump into some questions. I'm going to run way up top and try to pick up some of the early questions. Brian Vale, how do you feel about attacking top, middle, bottom until we understand the fishing conditions here in Central Florida? Central Florida, I usually, this time of the year, I'm usually just going to throw something that's moving fast until I get a bite or get a fish to follow or something like that. So like a chatterbait or a spinnerbait, I'm going to throw it in and around the grass. And one of my favorite ones is a swimming worm with a little light weight on it, little 60 or 1/8 ounce tungsten weight on the front. Throw it out and swim it through the weeds and through the pads and everything that you can throw it at until you get sign that there's a fish in the area. Because in Florida, when there's one there, there's usually a lot of them right there in that area. And so then I'm going to anchor down, drop the power poles, and I'm just going to start fishing the area, flipping with a creature bait or something like that. So, but yeah, top, middle, bottom I use for offshore, more reservoir type stuff, not the shallow stuff that's in Florida, all the big reservoirs and stuff that are up here. But I rarely ever start top. I usually go middle, bottom, and then if I start seeing a lot of action around on the surface, that's when I go top. So, SS Outdoors, when do you start throwing a big worm, water temperature or whatever you feel is the right time? I start throwing a big worm post spawn, usually a week after what I think is the last big spawn is when I'm going to start dragging a worm. When they start to get offshore a little bit onto those, they start to move back out to the deeper water. If I had to pick a water temperature, it would be 70, 72 to 75. I usually don't really start getting a lot of numbers on a big worm until the water temperature gets up in the high 70s. But I usually catch some pretty good sized ones, pretty big ones earlier. So let's see. Oh, Mr. Jones says he caught a muskie last week. Totally unexpected. I had a lipless tied on. I honestly have never caught a muskie. I've had them follow me back to the boat. I got one to take a spro frog away from me up in Leech Lake years ago, but I never have been able to catch one. So, see, do you believe adding a red treble hook on cranks and top water increase the bite ratio? Something I grew up hearing and doing. Figured I'd ask. So on super clear lake, so I'll give you an example. I've spent 15 years fishing Clark's Hill, which is a top water blueback herring lake. And I fished my favorite topwater bait, which caught thousands of bass for me, was a clear Super Spook Junior. And I always put a red treble hook on the front. Never put two of them on there, just put a red treble hook on the front. And the reason I did that is those bass are coming out of deeper water and they're coming full speed. And I wanted to give them, all they can see is the splash because it's a clear bait. And all they can see is the splash up in there. I wanted to give them a target to hit when they got up there. So whether they were coming out of 60 feet of water or 8 feet of water, I wanted them to be able to see that red hook and get it. And 99.99 times, 9% of the time, I caught them on that red treble hook. And so, yes, it makes a difference when you're using it as a target. I never felt like they said, oh, it's blood, I got to go get it. No, it was just a target, something to pick up on as they're coming up, and they're coming up fast. So that's why. Corey Meeks says, first time on the live chat, but I have watched a lot of your videos. And thank you for all the information. I've been fishing my whole life, but never been fishing. But I'm going to Arizona next week. That's awesome, brother. Oh, never been bass fishing is probably what he says. That's awesome, man. Good luck. Thanks for watching my videos too. Oh, Elizabeth Z. That's right. You're fishing the knuckleheads too. She says I could use another 23-inch for the knucklehead tournament. So, and the knucklehead tournament, guys, is only $15. That's all it is. So it's not like it's a whole lot of money. And then what happens is the winner gets to be on my fishing team, and we fish the championship. And I think I'm going to take the money. The entry money all goes to me, but we're taking the entry money and we're using it to get the team members, somehow reduce the cost for them to get there. So what I think I'm going to do with the entry money is, I don't know how much I'm getting yet, but I'm going to get an Airbnb for the whole team is what I'm going to do. Whether I've got to pull some out of my pocket or not, I don't know. But I'm going to get a really cool Airbnb. We're going to, in the area that we're going to be fishing, and we'll rock and roll from there. We'll have a good time. So that's the thought. At least that's my initial thought. And like I said, I don't know how much money I'm getting. So, Michael Moon says, you also have an old man back too. Yeah, that's right. What kayak are you currently using? I'm still in actually it's my last year's SS127, my Bonafide SS127. I didn't want to get a new one this year because we got the new RVR 119s out, and I went and picked one up. Actually, I picked two of them up so I could run the rivers here in the area, which I haven't really slowed down enough to get them rigged out yet, but I'm going to. So yeah, SS127. It's got XI3 on the front. It's got all the electronics, all the bells and whistles. A lot of people make fun of me because it is over rigged. I thought I was going to flip it yesterday because I changed my camera setup and I had my cameras way out to the side, both on the same side, and my boat, instead of being level, was a little bit tilted off to the side. I was like, maybe I ought to change some weight around. So yeah, I put too much stuff on my kayak. Morgan O'Boyle, what's going on, man? How are you? Do I like black and blue chatterbait for overcast stained water? It depends. In Florida, yes, Florida strain bass. Anywhere there's Florida strain bass, I do. Um, Stained, it has to be really stained water. But even with really stained water, I tend to throw a white first. And if it's not working, I'll change over to a black and blue or a green pumpkin and blue or something, or a green pumpkin black and blue. So, what's your thoughts on the new 13 fishing spinning reel? I had one here last week. I think it went and put it on a rod. I really like them. Previous spinning reels I haven't been 100% happy with for certain reasons, certain little adjustments. But spinning reels are really, really, the tolerances are really, really a lot smaller than bait casters. So they're hard to make right, but I think they really did good with these. I've been fishing it for 4 months now, 5 months, and it's been a really, really good reel. So Lou Vang from Minnesota, what's going on? Bryant Vale says, I got my brother hooked on fishing. He caught his first skirted jig bite just today. I get inspired by your tagline. Love getting other people hooked on fishing. Yeah, man, that's a blast. It is. And what I always tell people is, you go and take somebody to fishing and you introduce them to fishing and then you help them learn. You got a friend or a brother or whatever for life. Definitely. Definitely. Stefan, what's up, man? He says, I still haven't been able to find your rod anywhere, secondhand or nothing. Do you know where I can get that? Need it for docks and being a co-angler. Yeah, you stop by my house. We'll talk. I got 3, I think, or 4. So you've been my brother for a long time, man. You come by the house again. Come on a Friday. You can be on another Friday Night Live. But yeah, I'll take care of you. I know they're hard to find. They're great frog rods. I wish 13 would make them again. We'll get there. Jeremy Harris, your hoot. Rattlestrap says, hey, Gene, quick question because I'm close to ordering a rod. Is the 13 Fishing Omen Black extra heavy 1 to 4 ounce rod a good flipping swim bait frog rod? Need a good multi-use heavy rod. What size swim bait? It's a good flipping rod. It's not a good frog rod. It's a little too stiff on the tip. I like a little bit more flex, so I like a heavy and not an extra heavy. It just all depends on what weight swim bait you're talking about throwing. Let's see. Andy Leonard says, my dad also said there was more corn in a crooked row than a straight row. I was talking about my Facebook post today. I always tried to take pride in planting straight, but it didn't always work out that way. So yeah, my post today was about not being perfect, but you always, there's still room to grow even if you're not perfect. And I took a picture of my corn rows that I'd planted in my garden, and they were not straight. But what I had done is I just needed to run some farrows, and I didn't want to do them one at a time, or I wanted to keep them 30 inches apart. So I took a piece of wood and I put 2 other pieces of small wood that had a V cut in, or had a spike cut in them, and then put some weight on them and drug them down the aisle, and I just didn't drag straight. And I created those farrows to plant the seeds. So let's see. Can you explain the Bulldog drag system? It seems like the drag on one of my Concept A2s is broken. I tell you, the drag system, I've had one over the years that has come where it felt like it was slipping. And what happens is sometimes, and it's really rare, in the factory, they get the drag washers out of order, and it makes it to where it slips if that's what it's doing. What I would do is I would get a hold of 13's customer service and let them know. They've got a real repair guy in house, and actually he's a really good dude, and he'd be able to tell you for sure what's going on with that reel. But that's what if it's slipping, that's probably what it is. Like I said, it's really, really rare. I've had several hundred 13 reels, and I've only had one do it. And it's just, or either that or they accidentally grabbed two of those little carbon washers, and put them together, and they just stuck together. And instead of just making sure there was two separate, there might be two of them together. But who knows? Hard to tell without looking at it, that's for sure. Brian Vale, thanks for the $5. It says punching hydrilla in relatively shallow, still worth it. Released from shore and fish disappeared into thickness, I'd be casting past. Yeah, it's still worth it. I'd still make sure there's some depth, because this time of the year they start getting leaves. If there's light penetration through the hydrilla, if it's not matted out, there's going to be leaves up underneath there. There's going to be less room for the bass. I still like to have about a foot or 2 feet under the hydrilla to be able to do it. So, Corey Meeks, thanks for the $5. He says, I've been fishing my whole life, but I'll be going bass fishing for the first time next week in Arizona. I have a good selection of gear. Any suggestions? I don't know the conditions. What I always try to do is when I just want to catch fish, is I try to go small. I always downsize, finesse stuff, and wacky rig Cinco for a lot of you guys. I don't throw a wacky rig Cinco anymore, but dude, if you're getting started, you cannot beat that son of a gun. So go watch my video that I filmed last year or the year before last on a wacky rig Cinco, and go out there and have fun with that for sure. And then chatterbait, spinnerbait, that kind of stuff. So Indiana Sportsman says, just upgraded to a sit-on-top Pelican XR100 angler. How do you stay comfortable long hours? Let me think. So it depends on where you're at, but for me, for just a regular sit-on-top, I always try to have waterproof pants on. Not so much waders or anything like that, just waterproof pants, because I hated sitting in water all day long. If it's got a seat that's up a little bit, you're good. If it's one of those where you sit on top, but your butt sitting on plastic, it will get wet. And so another thing that really always makes me, where I'm always comfortable, is a comfortable PFD, a comfortable life jacket. Don't skimp on one. That the Chinook that I use from NRS, I'm not sponsored by them, but I love it because it's comfortable, and I can wear it all day long. And don't take that son of a gun off, because you never know. So that's definitely the two things that come to mind. So let's see. Mainly around me in the southeast of Colorado, the biggest most people throw is about a 3 to 4 ounce swim bait. Swim baits and jerk baits. I always like to throw smaller profiles anyways too, except for real deep water. Okay. So yeah, you might want to go to the medium or to the heavy. That extra heavy, I've got one. I use it, but it's my punching rod, and I don't think I could get a really good cast with a frog. Swim bait, you could throw a 6-inch bull shad on that heavy pretty easy. Even maybe an 8 inch is probably too heavy, but a 6-inch would work good. So, Cape Hatteras, what's up, Clint Allard? How you doing, bro? What's going on, Wes Stevens? Yeah, Jason Ryan is right about Arizona. It's tough this time of year. Definitely is. There's a couple of really good lakes in Arizona, though. But yeah, it can get pretty tough. Hey, Apple's Heart, welcome back, man. Welcome back. If you guys didn't know, just before it started, he was in the comments and he was goofing around. So I figured I'd mess around with him, and I put him in timeout for 5 minutes. So but yeah. Anyway, um, let's see, Mikey on a fluke video. Okay, Lou Vang. Um, I need to get back in touch with him. I haven't called him in over a year, but I fish over in his on his neck of the woods all the time when I'm over hanging out with Chad, so I should be able to do it. But we just haven't done it. It's just one of those things. I haven't called him and he hadn't called me, but we'll get it together. There's no beef between us. We just are doing our own thing. So, have an opinion on Cast King rods and reels gear so far. Affordable innovation is their motto, and as much as I've broken the bank, still trying to save money where I can save for a kayak. I agree with that. Um, when I first started with started looking at rods and reels years and years ago when casting first came out, the rods were junk. And matter of fact, I told them at the classic in a booth, I was like, dude, when I wrote you guys off, and so they kind of started goofing around and throwing rods at me and letting me try them out. They're pretty decent rods, dude. They're really good. I didn't look at the price points or anything like that. I didn't try to compare apples to apples but the rods were pretty decent. They felt good in my hand. They flexed well. I don't know how durable they are. I have fished with them. Some of the reels are super light. Good gosh. But other than that, no, I haven't messed around too much with them. So, but I am friends with a lot of the guys, or a lot of the people that do the marketing. So, matter of fact, you might see me fishing with a few of them over the next year because we've already talked about getting together and doing some fishing trips. PB largemouth and smallmouth, and what did you catch them on? Personal best largemouth. 10 pounds, 12 ounces, caught in just outside of Auburn, Alabama. Caught it on a vial craw, and it was a Texas rig. She was spawning. I flipped it in there. It's all on video. It's from years ago. And then number 2, the smallmouth. I was at an event at Lake Erie. It was a media event that we do every year. I was on Lake Erie, and she was 7.9, and we were dragging tubes. And I only have one clip of her because my camera got stolen during that trip. I laid it down while we were doing some stuff in a park, and it disappeared, and it had all my footage on it. So I've only got one clip from a cell phone of me catching that giant smallmouth. So, Rattlestrap, thanks for the $10, man. He says, let me get down there and highlight his stuff. Thanks for the info. I'm going to get the order in right now. Appreciate the knowledge and always being willing to put good info out for anyone who needs it. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it. Hold on, guys. I got a call. All right. Where's the best place to buy 13 rods? All right. The best place for you to buy 13 rods is to go to one of my videos and click on my affiliate link to Tackle Warehouse and buy it from Tackle Warehouse. And then I get a small percentage of that sale or anything you buy on Tackle Warehouse. But anyway, click on any of my links, take it to Tackle Warehouse, then do a search for 13 rods. And it's free shipping, and they do a good job. They always have. So oh, that's the best place for you to buy it for sure. Let me go up just a little bit. Hold on a second. I've already answered that one. B. Peelgren. It's the guy's name. Anyway, sorry, man. I didn't mean to butcher your name. Just got off the water at Decker Lake in Texas. It was a tough day. Well, what made it so tough? Was it the weather or what? How's Caleb doing? You're talking about Caleb Bell, I think. Yeah, he's doing pretty good. I talked to him on the phone last week or week before last sometime. So he got his boat run into the back of it, and I told him, I said, dude, if it comes down to brass tacks and you need a boat, come pick mine up and we'll talk about money later. But I think he got all that sorted out though. So because my boat's still sitting in the barn in the cover. I took it out the other day and ran it to make sure everything still works. But yeah, I just don't use it. I just get in my kayak. Hey, Fluke Master, any medium heavy rods you recommend along with a reel spin or bait caster? Also love your videos. You and BLAT are my go-to. Yeah, dude. So if I'm going to go medium heavy, I don't go spinning. I just don't like. For me, spinning rods are for about light line finesse stuff, and the most I'll go is a medium. So medium heavy bait caster. The new Meta rod from 13 that Gerald Swindle designed, and his new reel, the Concept G something G3 or G2. I can't remember what they call it, but it's not a Concept. It's a gosh almighty, it's the black and red one anyway. My mind just went totally blank on it. But that's been a really good rod and reel for me. The medium heavy is actually my jig rod because I use light wire hooks on my jigs, and I've caught all of my giants in the last month and a half on that rod and reel combo. But yeah, that's a really good medium heavy and surprisingly good. I didn't think it was going to be that good, but it's $150, I think. And yeah, definitely a good reel or rod. So, have I used any Guggen baits? No, Devin, I haven't. I've been around a long time, and you look at the baits, you count how many are in the bag, and you realize you're paying $1 more for fewer baits than something that is almost exactly the same thing, like the Rage Tail stuff and that kind of stuff. So I never bought them just because I felt like I was wasting money. So, Rage Tail is really, really good stuff. It's never done me wrong, but a lot of their stuff is very similar to Rage Tail. They copy a lot of stuff. They don't copy. They make the same things everybody else does with their little twist in it. But yeah, it's definitely not something I'm interested in. So, I'm looking to upgrade my Garmin Striker 4. Any recommendations? I honestly don't with electronics because I try to get the best that I can afford. And so I don't really pay much attention to any like the Striker 4 price range and that zone and everything else. I run two 9-inch on my kayak, and I'm about to run two 10-inch when my Lowrances come in this next week. So I'm not really knowledgeable on the lesser expensive electronics, that's for sure. Ever fished the Yamamoto Psycho Dads? Robert, I've never even heard of those, and I thought I knew everything. Y'all know me better than that. But yeah, I've never heard of them. Hey, recent subscriber just got back into fishing after giving it up for 20 years. Expect dumb questions. Dude, that's what I'm here for. Are the saltwater lures that work in freshwater? Are there saltwater lures that work in freshwater? Gotcha plug is the one on my mind. Let me look it up real quick because I don't know what a gotcha plug is. I'm not up on all the saltwater stuff, so. I am looking it up. I know what that is. Okay, yeah, that would probably work. Some of the top water ones that I use for like when I'm fishing for snook or redfish and stuff, they always work really good with bass or for freshwater. But yeah, the gotcha plug would work pretty good. Just a lot of people don't use it. Maybe the bass haven't seen it, Sorry, my finger hurts. I freaking hurt it today while I'm working on the garden. Let's see. Bass Ali, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Have you tried the new Missile Baits Chunky D? I mean that right there? Yep, I have. I really like them. These are the blue ones that I got for Florida. They arrived too late for my Florida trip. But yeah, I did a lot of bed fishing with them this year. They got a lot of action to them. Use them as a jig trailer when I need a bigger profile jig. Right now I'm using a real small profile jig. I'm giving away all my secrets for my big fish. But yeah, I'm using a real small profile jig. But when it starts to warm up and I feel like I need to get to a bigger jig, you'll see one of those on there. I really like them. So, let's see. My chat is not refreshing for some reason. That is weird. Wes Stevens, Gene got a boo boo. I got lots of boo boos. Dude, I had a bass that would not stop kicking or flopping, and it raped the back of my thumb right here last week, and it still hurts. Good gosh. Yeah, I had all kinds of problems last year. Got cut by a fishing line. I got all kinds of stuff last week. See, Gladden, I've got a dumb question. No, you don't. I have an ugly stick, medium heavy, 7-foot rod. What reel do you recommend? So, I always talk about reels in their speeds, their retrieve speeds. So you've got gear ratios. You got 6-speed or 6-3 to 1. Some companies have 6-4 to 1s or whatever else, but I always talk about them in speeds. So you got the 6-speed, which is your slow speed, 7-speed, which is your average speed, and your 8-speed plus, which are all considered high-speed reels. Your best all-around reel is a 7-speed reel, so a 7 something to 1 gear ratio, which means that little spool spins 7 point something amount of times per one full revolution of the handle. And so that's your best all-around reel. And most of my medium heavy rods have either a 7 or an 8. And the only time I ever put an 8 on there is if it's my flipping rod. In other words, I'm covering the bank and I'm flipping and reeling back in fast. And I'm flipping and reeling back in fast. I'm flipping, let it sink, hop it a couple times, reel back in. And the faster I can get it in throughout an hour, I get 10 or 12 or 15 or 20 extra casts in just because I have a higher speed reel. So my recommendation is a 7-speed, though. Went around my butt to get to my elbow on that one, but that's exactly what I would put on just about any rod and reel is a 7-speed. 6-speed I rarely ever use except for deep cranking an Alabama rig, something that has a lot of drag in it. Other than that, no. What is C-rigged? C-rigged is a Carolina rig. Okay, is what a C-rig is. And so I've got a couple of videos, one really good one from 100 years ago on a Carolina rig. I've been throwing one a little bit this week, but that's what a C-rig is. So it's just you get a Texas rig, you have a Carolina rig, you have an Alabama rig, every state wants their own stinking rig, but that's what it is. So Matt Rhodes, what's going on, man? He says, Gene, what do you fish in heavy hydrilla? Please help. Had a frustrating morning. So my guess would be, okay, so if you're in heavy hydrilla and this time of the year it probably isn't topped out, it's probably submerged. I never fish an area that's just straight submerged hydrilla. It has to have holes in it. It has to be like a clump of hydrilla and then space and a clump of hydrilla. And it's just like, scattered around. I rarely ever fish straight solid hydrilla. It's just hard to get bass to come out of it, is what I'm saying. And so one of the things I always fish in it, if I can find a place that's scattered like that, is a speed worm, Texas rigged with a 1/8 ounce bullet weight ahead of it. And I'm casting it out and I'm reeling it through that hydrilla, trying to let it come out of the thick piece of hydrilla and fall into those holes. And so I feel it tick out of it, and I let slack out, and I watch it drop. And a lot of times you get bass will bite and stuff like that. It's just really difficult to get the bass to come out of that straight thick hydrilla everywhere. So look for the holes. There you go. Ken Jacobs would be one that would let you know about the gotcha plug. That's for sure. He lives in North Carolina and he fishes salt and fresh a lot more than I do. So, Ken, I still have not caught a flounder, bro. So just to let you know, still haven't caught a flounder. How do you know how much braid to put on a bait caster? Spooled my first bait cast reel the other day. It wasn't sure how full to spool it. Whether it's braid or fluorocarbon or whatever else, I want to end with about 1/8 of an inch on the side of the spool. And I wish I had a reel with me right now, and I don't for some reason. I almost always have one in my office, and my office is an absolute disaster right now. But an eighth of an inch on from the top of that spool to where your line is what I want. And okay, never fuller than that. And then you got it. I'll use it until I have a quarter of an inch left, so I'm cutting line or whatever else. So who just donated $20? Michael Moon, thanks for the $20. He said, for being good a friend, also still feel lucky that I found that rod. How I did brand new after it had been oh, yeah, I remember you found my frog rod brand new after they discontinued it. Yeah. And it was a good price too. Yeah, I was lucky. It's called the Inception G2, the one the reel I was trying to think of a little while ago. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate it. Scott Lighton, he says, Fluke Master, do you have a video explaining what flipping and pitching and other casting techniques? Not as experienced, but enthused nonetheless. Yes. Look up the video how to flip and pitch. I think that's what I called it. I'm gonna look it up real quick. It's called How to Flip and Pitch. How to flip and pitch for us dummies is what it's called. Matter of fact, I'm gonna put it down in the see if it shows up. Put it down in the chat for you. But I had pneumonia when I filmed that video 100 years ago. It was 2013. 10 years ago, I filmed that thing. It's still really, really good video. So, Noah, did I miss your comment? I don't see your original comment. I saw what. Yeah, I don't see your original comment. It didn't show up. From the edge to the ledge. He says, I saw your post about hard. Had a really good month catching fish. Can you elaborate on that? You have always seemed to be catching them to me. So yeah, this month has been the best month I've ever had for size, for just big fish. I've caught 4 over 23 inches, so 4 8 to 9 pound bass, and a whole bunch of 22s and a whole bunch of 21s and a whole bunch of 20s. But basically, what happened the first of the month, they were still a little bit spawning. They had pulled out. They were in their staging areas where they would stage to spawn, where they were staging prior to them going up, but they pulled back out. They were done spawning. They were just resting. And I've been basically just been dragging a jig is all I've been doing. And when I get on a jig bite, I am happier than a kid at Christmas. And so that's basically all I've been doing is just going around to drops and hard spots and rocks, and just dragging a jig super slow. And that 13 fishing rod that I was talking about, the Gerald Swindle rod, see, I said it a minute ago and my mind's blank. But the medium heavy, the 7'4" medium heavy that I've been using for my jig rod, it feels like an old school rod, but it's super, super sensitive. And a lot of times I would actually feel the bass turn on the bait. So I'd feel the water push up against that bait before the bass would bite. It was the weirdest thing. And it's one of those things where I didn't realize what it was until after I already got the fish in and I thought about it. I'm like, man, what was that I felt before he bit? And it happened so many times. I was like, that's what it is. I'm pulling it up. I'm pulling it past the bass and he's turning on it, and just him pushing water up against the line, I can feel it. It's the coolest thing. So the meta rod. So, but yeah, dude, that's what I've been doing. Just dragging a jig. That's all I've been doing. Football jig. Oh, Wes Stevens. Everybody spelled my name wrong. That's all right. Gonna rename a topwater frog to a Georgia rig after the dogs whipped up on them horny toads. Go dogs! I love it, Hunter. That's hilarious. Oh man. Yeah, Ken, we need to do that, man. We need to go out there and hit and get some flounder. That's for sure. That would be awesome. Can I send you a DM over Instagram about your charter, or is there a way one could contact you? The best way to contact me is through Facebook Messenger. Really, I check those more than I do the Instagram. Instagram DMs got so super hard and hard to check. I know it's easy for a lot of people, but for me, it was just like, why do they keep changing crap? Just make it to where I can go in there and check them, and I don't have to go search for them. And so that's why I did that. But yeah, if you can't, I'd send it on Instagram if I don't check it. But like I said, I don't do it very often. But if you got a Facebook page, Facebook, send it to me on Facebook because I check those a lot more. So, um, let's see. Do you think we got away from why we started to kayak originally? We want to go where bass boats couldn't. Electronics, motors, etc. New rules. Now can't port. I'd love to see. I'd love to see Drew Gregory. A lot of rules have been made because of Drew Gregory. It's hilarious. Me and Hoover were joking about it the other day. But no, I really think that to me it was not to go where bass boats couldn't go. It never was. For me, I see a kayak as a way for somebody who's sitting on that bank every day, walking up and down the bank, wearing their shoes out, trying to catch fish. I see it as a way for them to get off the bank and go fishing. Low cost of entry. You can spend 2 or 3 months mowing lawns and have enough money for a good kayak. So that's the way I've always seen it. And then you see a progression of electronics and motors and stuff like that. That's because everybody wants to be a better or catch bigger and better fish or be able to, I do it because I want to have as much information as I can is the reason I have electronics. But that and I'm a bass boat guy that went back into kayaking. So I really don't think we got away from anything. I think we have evolved into what we are now for sure. And yeah, there's the regular just get out and paddle and do the rivers and stuff like that. I love that, but it's just I just love getting out on the water and finding big ones and being able to catch them. So, but yeah, now we can. I don't know about the port. They can't. The new rule about portaging. I like being able to portage, and that's one of those rules where it depends on the event, or the location of the event. And sometimes you're going to have to be able to do that, but that'll be an event rule and not a general rule, if that makes sense. Noah says, "Hey Fluke, what's good to clean an aluminum hull boat, and what do you use to get scuffs out? Thanks." Whew. That I do not know. I really don't. Because my all my aluminum boats have been painted. And so I never really had to get a scuff out or anything like that. I just cleaned them as they were like a regular painted boat, car wash stuff and be done with it. So I don't know, man. I really don't. Um, how long of a leader needed on a bait caster with braided line, 7 foot rod? I like to keep my leaders. If I had to pick one length, I like to keep my leaders to where, if as I'm getting ready to cast, you always got 15 to 18 inches of line out the end of the rod. But just before the cast, I want that knot just above the first guide from the reel. And that's just to protect and keep that knot if I'm not using an FG knot. If I use an FG knot, I don't worry about it. It doesn't. You don't have issues with your line getting beat up by that first guide like you do with other types of knots. So, but typically I want it right above that guide. And then if I'm fishing around docks and stuff, I actually use a lot shorter leader. That way, if they get me wrapped around dock post, I can let them fight on that braid and then bring them back when they get worn out. I bring them back around the dock post. So, Andrew Watson says Texas versus Jig versus Carolina, which is better for tomorrow's muddy water? River Reservoir below Clark's Hill. Very current stumps, grass, main channel. So if it's really, really muddy water, it's going to be a black jig or a black and blue jig, or a Texas rig that has something that has a lot of vibration, a lot of kick to it, like a rage craw or a rage bug or something like that in black and blue. And I'm just going as shallow as I can. I want to be able to see the cover, so see the stumps or see the grass, and I'm going to pitch into that grass and those stumps, because a bass is really, really comfortable when it can see, and when it's super muddy water, they move shallow so they can see and they can eat a little bit better. So, Michael Musgrove, is Rocky any cleaner yet? Yes, it is. They were going to fertilize yesterday, but they did not. They decided against it. Frank, I'm not going to say your last name because I suck at pronouncing names. It's nice to get away from the political stuff and just talk fishing. Yes, amen, amen. I love to talk politics with people who are respectful and people who listen to opinions and stuff like that, which is a very rare thing these days. So I just don't talk politics. I got one good buddy who me and him are total polar opposites when it comes to politics, and we've actually wanted to have a TV show where we showed that two guys that were the opposite direction could still love each other and just do things together. But he lives too far away from me now. So, A Plus Fishing, what's going on, man? Let's see. Backwoods Bassin says, I got another bass boat now, 20-foot, a 20-footer. Wow, dude, that's a good one. But I still absolutely love my kayak. That's awesome. What size hook do you use on a super fluke? I use a 4/0. I know most people use a 5/0. I feel like I get better action with a 4/0. I use a 4/0 EWG, or I use a 4/0 Gamakatsu offset round bend. I don't use anything else but those two, EWG or an offset round bend. So, I noticed no more angler button on your hat. Yeah, I haven't had one on there for a couple of years. They disappeared off the face of the earth for about a year and a half to 2 years, and so nobody was getting any replacements or anything like that. So all of my angler buttons died, so I stopped using them, and I haven't heard from them. So I don't know what's going on with them. Let's see. A Plus Fishing says, I seen you on in the mock tournament slaying the big ones. What is the secret to it? I just talked about that, jigs. I'm in central Illinois, and I swear the bass only get 5-6 pounds, maybe 23 inches at most. I have a special lake real close to my house, and it's public, but I know it like the back of my hand. I know every stump. I know every hard spot. I know every rock. I know every drop. Yeah, I know I have spots, like I have buddies that I fish with. I will not go to the certain spots with them anywhere around me because I don't want them to see me fishing them. But I've got spots that always have 20 inches on them for some reason. There's only 2 of those, though. I'm not saying there's lots of them. There's 2 of them. And if there's a fish on them, they're almost always over 20 inches. So, what gear ratio for crankbaits? 7-speed reel for crankbaits, unless it's a deep diver. If it's a deep diving crankbait, I'm going to drop down to a 6-speed. But I don't like a 6-speed because I feel like it takes forever to get the fish into the boat, which is funny because when I started bass fishing, 6-speed was the high speed reel. There was no 7 3-to-1s. There were no 8 1-to-1s. There were no 8 5-to-1s. Nothing. It was 6 8-to-1 was the highest speed reel you could get. And so how times have changed, that's for sure. David Fields, man, you gotta stop giving me all that money, you rich man. Thanks for the $50, my brother. So what's up? Take Tiff to dinner. She deserves it. We were talking about that today. She's like, I really need a date night. So yeah, I'm gonna do that tomorrow, man. I appreciate the $50, brother. But she's not a cheap date either. Hope she's not watching this. I'm the one that likes sushi. It's yeah. So it's usually I'm not a cheap date. Um, Backwoods Bass, we all need to get together and do bass slam down the Okmulgee River. Yes. Oh man, the Westbrook guys went on a trip down the Flint the other week, and I couldn't go. I had something I had to do. One of my kids had something I couldn't miss, and so yeah, and I've got those two new RVRs, and I wanted to take one down the river so bad I couldn't stand it. Oh well, but yeah, dude, we do. There's nothing like the old Mogi in the Flint River. Um, Somebody from Sturgeon Bay, and I almost put you in timeout on accident. Hi, Tyler. How's it going, man? Have you hit any aqueducts? And if so, any big fish in there that you've caught? I haven't. I really haven't. A lot of the road beds that I fish over the years, I love. If I find a road bed, I'm gonna fish that thing up, down, left, and right until I figure out whether there's bass on it or not. And then if a road bed's got a culvert or something in it like that, I'll hit those. But as for aqueducts, no, I don't. We don't have a lot of them around here, so no, I haven't. So, Fluke Master 2024. You guys do not want me to be president, that's for sure. Goodness. I will have every agency I'll have CIA, NSA, a whole 9 yards. Everybody wanting to kill me. Oh, if you could invent one bait lure that has never existed, what do you think it would be? I've thought about that over the years. And to me, I think everything's been invented. When I go to ICAST, there's never anything new. People are just reinventing the wheel, is all it is. Hard to find something at ICAST that impresses me. But I would like to see. I love fishing a big worm. I'd like to play around with big worms and see what I could do to get them to do something different. There are a couple of big worms out there where it's designed to where as you're dragging on the bottom, just that little bit of drag causes the tail to come up off the bottom and that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I always think about that. Just can't come up with anything. What do I use to punch mats in Florida? I almost always use a DB cricket. The old Gambler DB cricket is what I punch almost all the time. It's just small, goes through things really good. And then the other one is like a Rage Menace. I don't want a whole lot of stuff coming off the sides to keep it from coming through, being able to punch through. So, and then a speed worm, not a speed worm. What do they call it? A Rage Cutter worm is really good. I don't flip it much in Florida, but when they mat, when you get those thick mats up here on the Tennessee River, I'm flipping that. So, you gonna fish the BFL on St. Clair this weekend? Nope, I am not. I'm not fishing any tournaments this year. I'm fishing like little online fun stuff that really there's no stress. But no, I'm not fishing any tournaments this year. I'm focusing on the YouTube stuff this year. What's the heaviest fish you've caught? Between 250 and 75 pound Goliath grouper out of a kayak is the heaviest fish I've ever caught. Cortland, you gonna be at ICAST this year? Yes, I am, brother. I am. Yeah, I haven't seen Cortland in a while, brother. I know you've been fishing the fishing tournaments for sure. This spring has been some of my best caught 5-pounders in a row. Yay, go me! And I did get them on a 6-cent swim jig. That's awesome, man. Have you heard of this bacteria strain infecting Chickamauga right now? Any insight? I've only seen one thing about it, so I really haven't looked into it, Hunter. but I don't know what it does to the bass. I really don't. I've been in lakes that just got so that just the water was so funky that they had like bacteria growing on them, white stuff, and everything else. And it really didn't seem to affect the fish much. It just made it to where they just were a little lethargic. But I don't think there was like a big fish kill if I remember correctly. So A plus Fisher says I just finished my first kayak tournament at Sancris Lake in Southern Illinois. Was amazing. Any advice on where or how to get into more tournaments? Check Facebook pages if you want to look for like local tournaments in your area. I always recommend doing the KBF, the Kayak Bass Fishing Challenge series, which is like your best 5 fish over the whole month, and you're only going against people in your state. That's kind of fun. But yeah, dude, there's clubs and stuff. They all have Facebook pages. So, any preference on a good chatterbait rod? Yes, my favorite rod. It used to be called the Chatter Crank rod from 13 Fishing, and I think if I went to another rod company, I'd still use this one as a chatterbait rod. So now the way you find it is you look at their casting rods, not their bait, not their cranking rods. You look at their casting rods and you look for the 7'4" medium heavy moderate casting rod. And that is their chatter crank rod. It's also a good spinnerbait rod, good buzzbait rod, good big square bill rod, that kind of stuff, big heavy square bills. So it's a really, really good rod. And I have 2 of them on the kayak every day almost, because I always got two chatterbaits tied on. Oh, Brian, thanks for the $2. He says, do you carry stuff when fish just aren't biting? Trying to understand your question. Do you carry stuff when fish just aren't biting? Okay, I answer this 2 different ways. When I'm having a hard bite, I almost always have a spinning rod with me with a shaky head or a Ned rig. I can always seem to be able to get a bite on a Ned rig. When the conditions are horrible, now you said wind, but I love wind. I love fishing in heavy wind. I got a little short video that I just took off my SD card yesterday of the wind almost blowing me out of my kayak while I'm sitting there with my XI3 locked down, and I'm actually fishing for a spawning fish that's on a stump, and I can see her with my live scope. I was cheating. But anyway, the other one is if it's just the conditions suck, like heat of the summer is what comes to my mind, and I just know I'm not going to catch a fish. What I typically do instead of going home is I'll go practice something. And so I got really good at skipping docks on Lake Oconee when I couldn't catch fish on Lake Oconee. I would go and I would just practice skipping docks until I got really good at it. Pitching, anything. I just practice is what I do instead of going home. So, all right, who's talking about spawning with Alka-Seltzer? Knuckleheads. So one of my favorite. Okay, so I'm not sure where this comment originated from, but Ken was talking about a worm that throws off bubbles under the water. And if I'm fishing for bed and bass, some of my favorite ones are the ones that are the flipping baits that have the ribs on it. Trying to think of the one I use, the D-bomb and that kind of stuff. That's got the really deep ridges on them that hold air until it hits the bottom, and then you can shake it, and the air bubbles will let loose. There's a bunch of them that do it, but yeah, the first one that comes to my mind is the D-bomb. But let's see. There was a huge catfish die-off on Chickamauga, over 500 of them. Wow. Huh. I wonder what's going on then. What's a harsh reality making fishing content full time? Holy crap. Um, the harsh reality for me is that is that I got to feed my family doing it, and there's a lot of and this isn't. I'm not saying anything bad about guys who are sponsored for get sponsorships to get free stuff or discounts or anything like that. That doesn't bother me at all that people do that. It's the fact that a lot of companies, I've grown this huge following. I know what I can do and I know my value, but I also these companies that want to get everything from me for free, and I try to. It's just the difficulty convincing them that this is how I feed my family. Therefore, we need to talk checks and not discounts. And so, and that's been something that's been gradual. That was the big their big reality was that now I have to be a lot more. I can't be as nice as I always was when I'm talking business, and I have to drop sponsors and I have to pick up new sponsors, and I'm the type of person that loves to be loyal, loves it. I mean, Alumacraft, prime example. They don't make the bass boats anymore. They make deep V all riveted boats, but I don't fish out a riveted boat, and I don't think I could sell a riveted boat in the South. And so, but if they were to call me tomorrow and say, "Hey, we're starting our bass boat deal up again. Do you want to be on the pro staff?" And I'll be like, "Heck yeah, I'm still loyal to them. I still have one." And I'd be on it in a heartbeat. But I just love being loyal. But when it comes to making the choice between being loyal to a company and putting shoes and foot on my kids and feeding them, I'm going to pick my kids all every time. So it is harsh. Anyway, I could go on forever about that. Cortland. Okay, I see. I see. Cool, man. Cool, brother. Backwoods Bass and Socks and Cookies. They do a Tourney X Tourney. Oh, okay. Socks and Cookies. They do a Tourney X Tourney that helps troops get gift packs, and the tourney is usually a statewide open type deal. Fun to start on. That's the first I've heard about that one. That's cool. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, Bryant, you were talking about my panic box. So I'm gonna go back up to his comment. He says, "Do you carry stuff when fish aren't biting?" My panic box. I don't always have it with me, but in a tournament I do. And my panic box is a box of tiny crankbaits, little tiny. Most of them are discontinued Lucky Crafts. That if anybody, if I see one online or see one in the store, I'm going to buy it no matter what. But these little bitty, they're called CB Mighty D2Rs. They have been discontinued for probably 18 years. Um, but I still fish them, and it's full of those and any other these little tiny crankbaits. So I can cover a lot of water. I have a small bait. Some of them dive 8 to 9 feet deep, and I'm able to just pick off any fish that's going to bite, and it's all reaction strike. So that's my biggest thing in my panic box, and then a Ned rigs, then my Ned rig box. So, uh, where's the oldie rooster tail video at? Oh my gosh. You'd have to look up inline spinner. Yeah. September 11th, 2012 was when I launched a video about a rooster tail. It's called Inline Spinners, a must in any tackle box. Oh my gosh. Guys, I've been doing this for a long, long time. Holy cow. Brian, live scope cheater. Dude, I have to leave it at home every 5 or 6 days or I forget how to fish. So Tackle Junkie 81's in the house. What's up, Jimmy? How you doing, brother? Man, one of my favorite channels right there, Tackle Junkie 81. A lot of you guys may already know him. He's been doing it for a long time as well. SNS Outdoors. I was fishing a tournament on Clark's Hill when I pulled up in a cove and saw these white marks on the bottom, maybe 3 feet diameter. I see dozens of dead bass dissolved in on the bottom. Huh. No clue what that is. Not a clue. I'd have to see that. I'd be calling somebody for sure. See you, Ken. Have we been doing? Oh my gosh, we've been doing this an hour, guys. It's been fun. Let's see. Trit, you're here right at the time we're gonna quit. I'm sorry, bro. Oh, what about a wacky rig for your paddle box, dude? I'd rather eat sand than fish a wacky rig most of the time. It's in a lot of people's panic boxes. It ain't gonna be in mine. I just hate fishing a wacky rig, and I do it. I do it 3 or 4 times a year, but uh-uh. I just can't get myself to like it for sure. Um, Backwoods Bass, and a lot of us have watched you for years, buddy. I've always tried to stop by anytime I see you online. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Y'all are awesome. Uh, but yeah, if you guys want to be able to fish with me, I'm guiding now. If you guys who weren't here when I talked about it, if you go, it's a lake here in Rome, Georgia, and there's plenty of nice little Airbnbs. I got a friend that's putting an Airbnb or finishing up an Airbnb here in town. If you're from out of town, you can stay in those. There's a couple of brand new hotels, that kind of stuff. But it's a trophy managed lake, managed by the state, public lake. It's open the 1st through the 10th. It's called Heath Lake at Rocky Mountain Public Fishing Area. And all you gotta do is go to Fishing Chaos or find Fishing Chaos in the App Store and download the app. Create an account, then go to their charters and find Fluke Master Fishing and book a trip. For $300 a day is what I'm gonna say the first 10 trips are gonna be $300 a day. You're calling it my guinea pig discount, and then it's gonna either go up to 400, somewhere between $400 and $500 a day. So I jump on it while you can, and it's just going to be me, and bring your kayak. Hopefully, but within the next month, I'll have another one rigged up to where if you don't have a kayak, I'll have one for you. And we're just going to have a good time, dude. And it's a great lake full of really good sized bass, so it'll be a lot of fun. And I know it like the back of my hand, so I'll teach you a few things. That's for sure. Let's see. Randolph, how much hell do you catch fishing lakes in Alabama with that dog hat on? Not a whole lot anymore. You see a lot of Bama fans with their tails between their legs at this point in time. So and I'm one of those. I love to talk trash with anybody, so it's usually a lot of fun. I've never, well, I can't say that, but most Alabama fans are really, really cool and a lot of fun to rag on, and they'll give it right back, and I enjoy it. So, how many miles you estimate on your kayak trailer, and how is it holding up so far? It's a great looking setup for sure. I have about 74 to 80,000 miles on my kayak trailer right now. Still got the original hubs, still got original bearings. I have greased it twice. Still holding up really, really good. I love it. Absolutely. And that's why I went with a high end trailer, is because I needed one that was going to put up with my 80-mile-an-hour driving son of a gun and hitting it as hard as I can for thousands and thousands of miles. So Becca said, this is Tackle Junkie 81. He says, Becca said she misses you as well and wants to make you dinner. Dang right, dude. I might bring my wife too. Dang, I love your wife's cooking. That's for sure. Gosh almighty. Trent just drove back from Wheeler. He says, man, I just drove back from Wheeler, walked in the door and saw this was on. Haven't been taking many haven't even taken my bags upstairs. Oh, that's funny, man. All right. Let's see. All right. One more question. David Fields says, can we do it? And I bring my boat. My big butt isn't fishing out of a kayak. Yes. David Fields, yes. For you, I would do that in a heartbeat. And I can legally do it in Georgia. I just want to make it a kayak thing. But, dude, you bring it, and we'll have a good old time. I owe you at least that for sure. But I'm going to put your big old butt in a kayak for at least 5 minutes. I want to do it just to see if we can do it, because I know you. So, all right. Well, I love you guys. Thanks for joining me. This one went about 15 minutes longer than it normally does, and my voice is feeling every bit of it. But thanks for showing up. I really do appreciate it. And like I always say, be sure to introduce somebody to fishing. Introduce them to my channel. Let me help you teach them how to fish. More importantly, get on the water. Go out and catch some fish, and have a great day. We'll see you.